Welcome to the Sober Nation FM podcast, where we're putting recovery on the map. I'm your host, Jonathan Sylvester. This show is brought to you by Sobriety Engine. Do you want to take your recovery to the next level? Do you want more support, community, and fellowship? Sobriety Engine is an incredible free online community of men and women supporting each other in their recovery. You can get a ton of great tips, resources, and guidance to help you succeed in recovery and in life. Visit sobrietyengine.com to join today. Sober Nation FM is also brought to you by Recover Health. If you're ready to get fit and start living a healthier lifestyle, all while supporting your sobriety, then you can learn more about having me as your own personal fitness and nutrition coach at rcvrhealth.com. And whether you're listening to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watching on YouTube, please share this with your friends. Follow, subscribe, and leave a review. Nation, let's hop right into today's episode. Today, I'll be speaking with Courtney Friel, who's a reporter and news anchor for KTLA in Los Angeles, and also the author of Tonight at 10, Kicking Booze and Breaking News. Thanks for coming on the show with me today, Courtney.
Thanks so much for having me. Big fan of Sober Nation. And I'm drinking my cocktail here.
Love it.
Which is coffee bean coffee, because that is my new vice.
Yes, the new vice, caffeine. I got to have it. So your book, Tonight at 10, Kicking Booze and Breaking News, and I love the book cover, by the way. So it's all about your experience with alcohol and drug addiction. So I just want to jump right in. Tell us what was going on before you found your way into recovery.
I'd like to mention, though, that the book is not all crazy stories. It has a lot to do with living sober.
Love it.
But
okay.
I had a 15-year party career. And from day one, there was no such thing as me having one drink. I still don't understand how people can just have a glass of wine at dinner. I would just want a zillion drinks. I'd be that hot mess that was like throwing up, passing out, crying, getting in a fight, disappearing. And then that was drinking every single time for me.
Okay.
And then
and so like how old were you when this all started, do you think?
So
Roughly.
I took my first drink at 15 years old.
Okay.
And I had been like really shy, and I was also really bullied. So for me, when I discovered alcohol, it brought me out of my shell and gave me this confidence and made me like this fun, funny person.
Yeah.
And then B, it numbed the pain of not being liked by all these like people that were bullying me. But then when I was 19, I discovered cocaine. And so that was in my using history the whole time from then on. And when I moved to New York in 2007, things got really progressed with Ambien, Adderall, and Xanax. So I'd like to say those 5 things are my drug of choice.
Okay.
Which is why like I'm never going to take an Adderall type like speedy thing now. Obviously,
Sure.
I'm never going to take any sort of sleeping pill, like nothing mind altering. And I really love being clear-headed right now.
Yeah. Okay. So I do want to ask, I mean, so walk me through this. So, the cocaine comes in, the Ambien come in, which, man, that's like a interesting combo, like from one end to the other. I can kind of relate. I mean, my thing was pain pills, like a downer. And I feel like my side dish, if you will, was energy drinks. So go
Right.
figure,
Well, see, when I would do cocaine, I would get so anxious and I would always think I was having a heart attack. So I'd be at parties and I would go to someone's freezer and get like either an ice pack or green peas. And I would put it on my chest because I'd be having this heart pain. And I'd be like, I'm having a heart attack, but I need another line.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I would need Xanax to like balance it out and also then help me fall asleep. But in New York, I feel like the psychiatrists there, like you pay them cash and they just will write you a prescription for anything. So all of my pills were prescribed and I needed them because I worked the morning shift. So I needed the Ambien and the sleeping pills to go to sleep. But then I used the Adderall, like, oh, I have ADD, even though I didn't. And that would help me get my story ideas. So I was just up and down all the time. And part of why I wrote the book is because like I didn't plan on getting sober, but I have 10 years now, ever since 09. And I just have seen all the perks and it's like so amazing that I had to share the message, as well as I came out about it on my social media to my audience when I had 6 years, and
Yeah.
I can't even believe the reaction. Like, I get so many questions. How did you do it? What advice do you have? What was your story? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw the need for it, even though, I mean, there's lots of addiction books out there,
Sure.
but that's why I've read so many of them. And it seems like most of them, the authors rush out of rehab and write a book. And they're like,
Mm,
here's all the crazy stories that I did. And
yeah.
here's what rehab was like. Then I got sober, the end. And you're like, well, wait, are you still sober? Like,
Mm.
what, but then, and then what?
Yeah. Well, so okay, so I want to ask you, so and then what? So I mean, basically, I mean, it sounds like, and number one, like let me just say, I think we hopefully by now, most of us, especially in recovery, know better that it doesn't really mean anything just because we got this medication through a prescription, right? I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of people getting, strung out and abusing all kinds of different medications, and they're getting it from a doctor. But I do want to ask. So, I mean, it sounds like at first, besides the thinking you're, dying from a heart attack occasionally, it sounds like you enjoyed it at first, right? Like we all did.
Oh,
So,
yeah, for sure.
so
And
where
that's
did
why
things, so
I
where did
don't,
things start to turn? Do you think?
well, in 2005, I got a job hosting the World Poker Tour. And the very first night, I hung out with the crew until 4 a.m. and got wasted and passed out in a plate of spaghetti, and my dress was falling off.
There
And
you
those
go.
crew members told on me. And
Okay.
the head of World Poker Tour called my agent and was like, do we have a problem here? So that was the first time, like, it really scared me.
Hmm.
And I went on for 9 months, even though I drank in Paris at the 2-month mark and didn't tell anyone. That was my first time being on the wagon, but like cold turkey and no program or anything.
Okay.
And so both that night in Paris when I drank secretly, and then when I picked up again in the Bahamas, like, I was able to see how fast it escalated. Like, it just went right back to where everything was, and all the drugs and everything came back. So that was like the first realization, like, okay, I have an issue. But then I
Okay.
moved to New York, and like everybody was partying, and Heath Ledger and DJ AM died, and I was thinking, that could happen to me because I have like lots of things in my system. I'm not going to wake up one day. Or I was really scared that I was going to get arrested for buying blow from some shady dealer and then lose my job.
Right.
And I saw a video of myself on a train with my bra on my head that I didn't even remember taking. And when my friend sent me that video, I was horrified at what I saw, and the people surrounding me were appalled at what my behavior. And I was thinking, okay, this is probably going to wrap up soon, or I'm going to have to call it a day with this. And 2 weeks later, after seeing that video, I ended up in Florida, and I had my friends couldn't wake me up. So 7 people surrounded my bed and gave me an impromptu intervention. And it was
Wow.
what they said to me, and the combination of kind of knowing I was ready for it, that I said, okay, I deserve more for my life. I have more to give this world. And I know doing this will be the best thing that I can do. And I just knew in that moment. And then I was like, but I have to have one last drink.
Of course.
And it was the grossest last drink ever. It was raspberry vodka with 7-Up.
Oh yeah, no.
I just remember thinking, like, this is the worst last drink.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
probably
then
a
I
good,
went
probably a
to I
good
went to
thing.
rehab. I went to rehab for 28 days. I came back and went back to my job at Fox News Channel, which is where I was working at the time. And unfortunately, I lost like 95% of my airtime, just for a number of different reasons. And that was extra hard because my career and my partying were like my life, my best friends. And all of a sudden I had none of them. However, I ended up just focusing more on my recovery because I wasn't working as much. And then the life happened. At 5 years, I got divorced. Then I had to do the sober dating thing in LA, which was crazy. And I've had a headache for almost 3 years, and I haven't relapsed with that. And all the crazy stories that I cover that are emotionally challenging for me, that makes that would make anyone want to drink.
Right.
So that's all stuff that I wrote about in my book. And then the main thing is that your life is not over when you get sober. Like you can still have fun in sobriety. And I know that a lot of people think they'll never have fun again. So then the last chapter of my book is how to have fun sober.
Well, so I want to touch on a few of these things here. I mean, I think like I'm just thinking that I think it's safe to say like all of us live a double life to some degree, right? I mean, because we're trying to hide our addiction, we're trying to protect our addiction. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just thinking like you with your job, you are doing this on like an extreme level because the other side of you is on national news.
Right. So no one thought that and still to this day, people can't even believe that I ever had a problem because of how I look, because they associate like, an addict or an alcoholic with like the homeless person on the street, the guy that
Right.
beats his wife, that can't pay his bills. And,
Yeah.
and that's what I thought that too, before I learned about, in rehab, you realize, wow, I have more in common with these people,
For sure.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the thing is, like, I didn't really think it was a problem because I was partying with so many people at Fox News, like, and in New York. I mean, I've since run into Fox News people that don't work there anymore. They're like, I've never partied so much. Like, I've never drank so much as when I worked there, which is funny because probably America thinks that like we're all like reading our Bibles or something.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Fox News.
Well, so I want to ask, so I mean, looking back at, you mentioned this World Poker Tour thing, and it's funny because like me and my buddies back in the day were, I still have some friends that still play poker and stuff, and so we were, watching you, which is funny, while we were, doing our thing that we were doing
Right.
then, you mentioned this incident where you ended up in a plate of spaghetti. Maybe there weren't any incidents like that, but do you ever look back at like old footage, or were there ever any moments where you were on the air and it's like, man, how could people not tell that something was up?
So I was a very like dedicated career person. I was work hard, play hard. So
Okay.
I never like went to work and drank before, but
Okay.
there were times where I anchored the morning show or did like news cut-ins where I was still drunk from the night before.
Yeah, that's kind of what I
And
was thinking about. Yeah.
yeah, so I know for sure like one incident that really I scared myself was I was like partying all night. It was like 2 a.m. And I'm like, I gotta go to bed because I gotta do my first cut-ins at 6 a.m. So I sleep from 2 to 4 a.m., which with all of the coke and booze that were in my system, I wake up and I'm completely shit-faced
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I go in and I'm like trying to chug water. The makeup artist is like doing my makeup. I'm sure I reek of alcohol. And I remember like being under the lights, like it was only a 2-minute news cut in at 6 a.m. But I was like, please God, don't let me be a YouTube moment. And I got through it, but I know I slurred. And like from that day on, I was like, I will never do this again. Like I promise. But that was all towards the end. I mean, things were progressing pretty quickly. And I decided that I was going to start taking Ambien and then like go out to clubs and I just didn't care. Like I remember going on a trip to Vegas and I don't remember why I was there, maybe for a bachelorette party or something. And like,
Okay.
I just let random people stick ecstasy in my mouth. And like, I
Wow. Yeah.
end up like at random people's, it was just some shady stuff at the end. And I was married at the time, so I'm not like proud of things. And, yeah, life's just so much better. I love like no drama and not like getting into potentially legal medical trouble. Because
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
wake up, that's why the cover of my book, like I would wake up and I'd wake up from a blackout and I'd have band-aids on my knees because I would have fallen and someone would have taken care of me. And I would have cuts and bruises on me all the time.
Hmm.
And I'd have no idea like how I got them.
Yeah. How that happened. Yeah.
So I think with like turning 30, so I was 29 when I got sober, went to rehab. And I think I was like, okay, it's not really that cool to be like dancing on the bar, like losing your clothes after 30. Like people start to realize when I saw the video of I remember thinking at the time, oh, they must think I'm so cool because I'm on TV. Because, you know, you're all like into yourself when you're
Mm-hmm.
using. And then when I saw their faces at how appalled they were by my
Well, you
behavior,
said it was a
I,
train in Paris, right?
no. Paris was the first time I like relapsed during my own 9 months
Okay.
sobriety. That was years before.
Okay.
But this was at a party coming back from the Hamptons to New York. And so there were regular people on the LIRR.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And I had my strapless bra on my head.
There
And my
you go.
friend was interviewing me as to why I was the Miss 34B queen. And she was interviewing me. And I was like slurring and snorting
Yeah.
and flopping all over. And I had blueberry pie on my face. And
Oh
my,
man.
you know, it was just a mess. Like I didn't realize like how like I looked when I was in that state.
Well, so yeah, probably not a good look, a little sloppy, maybe.
Yes.
But I think we've probably all been there. I mean, man, that's actually pretty amazing that you had footage of that because I know, and actually, I'm so grateful that like I kind of missed the period where all the stuff I was
Oh
doing would
yeah.
have been
Yeah.
recorded
Me
and
too. Me too.
posted, and super grateful for that. You
Mm-hmm.
know? But you know, I want to jump into the book here. So I mean, tell me why did you write the book to begin with? Like why I know you said you'd read a bunch of books and I appreciate what you're saying and not to put words in your mouth, but I think what you're saying is you were reading a bunch of books and it was kind of like, yeah, you know, I had a problem. I went to rehab. Here's the crazy stuff that happened. And it was more about the problem than talking about the solution and living sober, right? Is that kind of what you saw in a lot of those other books that was going on?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I guess it's helpful to somebody who maybe wonders if they have a problem and then they can relate with the crazy stuff that the people did.
Yeah, that
But
makes
then
sense.
also,
Yeah.
like, I feel like also if your story doesn't align, you're going to be like, oh, I'm not that bad. Like, that
True.
person was really bad.
True.
So I just wanted to keep it like 10 chapters. I put all I mean, there's crazy stories throughout the whole thing, but primarily, like, the first two are all the antics. Chapter 3 was what rehab was about because a lot of people are curious about rehab.
Right.
Chapter 4 was the first 2 years of sober, like getting sober, what that's like, how every day feels like Groundhog's Day, and how I coped with that, and the work stuff that was happening. And then so at 5 years I got divorced, but so I talk about like how in relationships there's a lot of codependency with addicts, and the dynamic changes once one person gets sober.
Hmm.
And then chapter 6 is dating sober, because that's a whole issue. Chapter 7 was how I learned to meditate, which is my number one tool in
Okay, can we
keeping me
talk can we
sober.
talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
Okay,
That was my
awesome.
favorite chapter to write.
Awesome, because so that's actually been one of the things. So I started meditating when I got sober, and like I immediately connected with it. I thought it was awesome. Like I saw the benefits of it right away. And I had been saying for a long time that I was going to start doing it more regularly. And this year, I don't like the term resolution. So I'm just going to say I set a personal goal.
Intention.
Yeah, there you go. Intention. Love that. To meditate regularly. So I've actually been using, I don't know if you've heard of Insight Timer, but it's a
I
free app
have.
that has like thousands of meditations and courses and all kinds of cool stuff. Tell me how did meditation, because I think for a lot of people, it seems like this huge thing. Like it's almost
Right.
like spirituality, right? Like I have to do it someone else's way. So how did you kind of get into that? And what does it look like for you most of the time?
Well, first of all, I was like, hell no, am I going to pay a babysitter to go sit on the floor and not burn calories? I'm
Yeah.
way too
Yeah. There
ADD
you
for
go.
that. Like,
Right. Right.
I
Right.
was like, no. There's way too many things to do in the day. Like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So once I went to a class at this place and got a membership there, and I started going to 3 classes a week, like every single day, I just kept seeing new things that were changing in my life. And then I'm a big, like, I mean, I'm a reporter, so I was taking notes, and I just started listing all these things as I kept doing it. And
Mm.
then in the first year, I had like 2 or I had 3 2-week periods where like I wasn't getting into meditate, or like I just wasn't doing it. And I saw like all these issues like creeping back in.
Mm.
So it was just so beneficial to me that my body needed it. And so now I'm almost like 5 years into meditating, and I just have to do it. Like if it's meditating or working out, like I have to meditate over working out if I only have time for one, because it keeps me sane. And I only do 22 minutes. 22 minutes a day. I might miss, one day a week here and there, but it's just something that keeps me calm. Like you stop worrying, you're just so much more chill. And when I see a situation, or when I'm in something, like if I have a really bad day at work where like
Yeah.
I covered a mass shooting, or just I covered a lot of death stuff that day and it was icky, and then I just know I have to come home and meditate. Like meditation solves every emotion for me. If I'm sad, if I'm angry, if I'm like irritated, if I'm emotional or worried, like I just meditate, and it's my medicine.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I feel the same way. And so actually we've just touched on one thing, but you just touched on something else that I got into when I got sober that I had never been into, and that's fitness. So, and I think like with the meditation thing, like one of the ways that it was broken down to me is that it's a muscle. Like you don't just
Mhm.
walk into the gym and deadlift 315 pounds. Like it doesn't just happen. And it's the same thing with meditation. So like even myself, like I've done some what I consider longer meditations. Like I hear 22 minutes every day and I'm like, damn, like that's, I think for someone that's not doing it regularly or at all, like that can seem like a lot.
Intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, but in my mind, like one of my favorite sayings is something is better than nothing. Like 2 minutes is great, 5 minutes is great. So I think, I don't know, like, where did you start out? Like, did you start out going to these classes, right?
Well, yeah, and the classes were like 30 full minutes of
Wow.
meditating.
Okay.
And so I would go to 3 a week, and
Wow.
that was helpful.
That's awesome.
And the other thing too, like when you're meditating with other people, I feel like I get drunk. Like even my weather chick at KTLA, like we go in the closet together in between shows, and we always say like, "Oh wow, you give good zen." Because I feel like when you're meditating with someone else, like you can get like better vibes. So
That's pretty
that's
cool.
I mean that's my recommendation for people who just don't want to do it, is go to a class. And there's meditation studios popping up all over the place.
Well, and you
And
were talking about how your trainer came earlier today. You were
yes,
working
this
out.
is I'm in my workout clothes.
Yes, love it.
Yeah, I
Love
mean,
it.
I just make sure like I have trainer Bob. I just have two set days a week where I work out with him. And I mean, working out and even like going to church and reading self-help books and listening to my K-Love Christian music, or I'm constantly working on myself. And I think like self-help books, like I love them. And that's why I've learned a lot over the years. And so a lot of that stuff is in my book too, like how to not take things personally. If you're bummed about what your job is, like how to be grateful for it and mind fuck yourself to love your job.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the way it was broken down to me is that, not like I need to stress myself out with constantly getting better, but it was put very directly to me, like, if you're not growing, you're dying, and it was broken down to me
If you're
like
not
that,
growing, you're what? You're
dying,
dying. Oh, okay. Thought you said
and
diet.
yeah, no, diet, yeah. No, and it was put to me like that, initially just in regards to my recovery, but I started to see like, man, I kind of like learning these new things and trying new things like
Mhm.
meditation, like working out. And that's kind of my life now, in terms of one thing I love and my profession, even. So, let me ask you, I mean, I'm guessing that just in the field that you're in, you were probably into fitness to some degree before getting sober. How do you think that fitness and just physical health, because I always love having this conversation, how do you think that impacts your recovery?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, ever since like senior year in high school, I've been on a low carb diet.
Mm,
It's such an unhealthy I have such an unhealthy relationship with carbs. And
mm,
I feel like thankfully, like, I didn't go like transference into like eating. Like, I didn't become, I always say, like, I wish I had transference to becoming like a crazy fitness person.
Right. Yeah.
No, I've exercising even while I was using, like, I was always exercising too. Nothing
Okay.
like insane. But yeah, because I'm on TV, like, you just have to stay in shape.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, if someone's getting sober and exercising is not in a part of their routine, like, go for a power walk, like, go yoga. When I got sober, that's when I got into yoga, and I love it.
Yeah. Yoga is great too. Yeah. That's something else that was introduced to me early on. So you said the last chapter of your book is all about having fun sober. I mean, I'll just tell you, like, I kind of started to feel like if I can't have fun sober, then what is the point in getting sober? Like, because I definitely didn't. Unfortunately, I saw people who were happy. I wanted what those people had. I saw some people that were friggin' miserable. I didn't want anything to do with that. And I was
Hmm.
just like, man, if I can't, have fun sober, then why am I even doing this deal? So I want to ask you, I mean, how did you kind of like figure out how to have fun sober?
So it's weird because when I talk to my sober friends, like, a lot of them who jumped into 12-step programs, like, they started having fun immediately because they were doing
Okay.
all of the activities. And I
Right.
think if you get a group of sober guy friends or girlfriends and you're all going through it together, then it can be an amazing journey. But
Right.
for me, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything really about AA, or I didn't know anyone sober. Like, it was such a foreign thing to me. So I was going to meetings and slowly learning things there. But
Okay.
when I was 8 months sober, I got pregnant with my son. And then after I had him, like, a couple months later, I was accidentally pregnant with my daughter. So my early years of sobriety were kind of focused on being a mom. So,
Mm.
and I was married. So I know my story is different from, like, maybe the, average person or whatever, because I really feel that my kids are like a blessing in my like, they were very helpful because
Okay.
they that gave me a year and a half combined of time where even if I wanted to drink, like, I was baking a human, so I wasn't going to.
Right. Yeah.
So, but look, I remember around like year 2, 3, I was like, I'm never gonna have fun again. Like, this sucks. And I just took like 10 milligrams of Celexa. And then that feeling completely went away.
Wow.
It's weird how that worked.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I was like depressed or not, but
Okay.
yeah, so I'm not one of those people that's like, you can't have like a little bit of antidepressant or medicine or something like
Hmm.
that type of thing. I
Yeah.
know that people are weird about that, but like, hey, if you're depressed or whatever, but that it's weird how I took that, and then that thought completely lifted. I never had that again.
Interesting.
But then yeah, so then I just started. It really took me getting divorced to like have more, time alone and force myself. I just became like addicted to traveling and to trying. I love weird things, like if it's doing yoga with goats, or if it's
I
trapezing,
still haven't done that
or
yet. I want to try
or if
that.
it's like, going in like a mud bath, or I started loving going to spas. Like, when I would drink, like, I hated massages.
Hmm.
I didn't want to waste any time doing that stuff because I just wanted to party.
Yeah.
So now, like, I think of like going to a spa as like going to the bar. And then just realizing like, oh wow, I lived in New York. Like, I would go to Broadway plays, and I just started being present. Like, I love learning stuff, and I love seeing other cultures in the world. I mean, if I could travel all the time, I would, but obviously, I only have so many vacation days. But I love going to like weird, like, I'm in March, I'm going to Transylvania,
Oh,
like,
wow.
because it's weird,
That is
right?
weird. I've heard it's
Yeah.
pretty cool though.
And I went to Budapest and Iceland and Cairo. Like, I like weird places.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like going where not everyone's going. So.
Yeah. Well, actually, so my wife's side of the family, her dad is from Budapest, so hopefully we'll make it there.
Oh my God,
Uh,
it's so beautiful
yeah,
there.
it looks incredible. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I think one of the things was when I was getting high that like, we have all these like what some people will call high ideas, right? Like these things like I'm gonna like
I've
invent.
never heard. Why have I never heard that? I love
Yeah,
that.
like I'm gonna like invent this thing, right? Like this is what I'm gonna do. Like it's this great idea. We never do any of that stuff. Like none of that stuff ever gets done. And then, I think like for a lot of us, and definitely for me, like when I got sober, I didn't have this barrier, like this wall up in my life anymore. And I could start to really do some of these things I had always talked about doing,
Right,
and
because
not
you have
only
more
doing, but
time.
yeah, not only doing, but like be present and
Mhm.
enjoy them. And that's what really matters because I think that, I started to see like even some of the most enjoyable things now aren't really like what I would have thought as fun. And like some people
Oh,
now might even think they're boring,
oh yeah. Well, don't you feel like you skew really old now?
a
I
little
feel like
bit.
being sober and being a mom, I feel like I'm 80. But I also like there's no going back for me. Like I have
Mm,
zero interest in
that's awesome.
ever living that way anymore. Like I kind of look at it like, okay, for 15 years, I had a lot of fun,
Mm,
and I, got into a lot of like trouble or had lots of laughs and whatnot. But
yeah.
uh, all most of my friends, like from high school and college, I'm still friends with them, and I still have a great time with them, and they have a great time with me, even though I'm not drinking. Like I'll be the designated driver and watch them get drunk. Like that's like and it's so freeing. Like, don't you love, like, you can still show up for people, like go to their party, go to their book party or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and then you get to be like, okay, I'm leaving when I want to leave. Like, I'm not closing this thing down and committing all night to it anymore. Like, I'm going to go home so that I can get up and work out in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true. I think that's one of the like biggest lies that we tell ourselves early on is like, well, like you said, you were saying, at 2 or 3 years, like I'm never going to have fun again. And I know I was telling myself, like, just see it, it feels like this huge thing, like this weight almost, because it's like, man, how am I going to hang out with people again? How am I going to go to parties ever again? Like, how am I ever going to enjoy any of the stuff that I used to do without,
Hmm.
wanting or needing, a substance in my body. And it is a lie. It's complete BS. I mean, you can go wherever you want, now
Hmm.
early on, like I was actually telling a buddy of mine yesterday, like I didn't go to parties or any of that stuff for like a year. I didn't even talk to my best friend for like over a year. I had to separate myself and do
Right.
things differently for a while. So, I mean, I guess I want to know, like, what is the main thing that you'd really like readers to take away from this book?
I think that it is definitely work getting sober.
For sure.
I just wanted to touch like on what you just said.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you think about it, like, say we're all at a concert
Hmm.
or we're all at a Christmas party. We're we're all there having the same experience. So it's like you're just there being more present and remembering it. And those
True.
people like who are drinking, like they're technically having the same experience. It's just they might not remember it and they're going to probably wake up and feel like shit tomorrow. Or you can't judge them if they're normies because they really can just have one or two drinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that I look around now and I'm like, gosh, like very few people drank the way I drank. It's
Mm,
crazy. Like I just was out of control. And if you just look at it like, look, I lost the privilege. My sponsor, mentor early on was like, just look at it like you lost the privilege. But you can life goes on. Like you can have the messages like you can have this rewarding, fun, purposeful life. You can help people. You can do all of these things. You become the person that you were always meant to be when you get sober. And this was not part of my plan.
mm.
And I feel like I was given this gem, this gift. And that's why I wanted to share the message. I'm not a preachy person. I'm not judgy. I don't care what anyone else does. But like, it's my give back to want to help people.
Yeah. Okay. So I do want to ask you, I mean, because you said I think you said you had 6 years sober when you kind of
When
came
I
out
came
and
out of it, yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, I think like within a 12-step program, like in my mind, and I'm, I came up and am still involved in a 12-step program. I think that's part of the 12th step, right? Like you're carrying the message, but
Right.
why do you think, like, why is it important for you in your mind to be open about this? I mean, what are just your thoughts on that? Just
Well, the thing
sharing your
is, like,
experience.
my last name's Friel. So my whole thing is like, keep it Friel. We got the Friality show going on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so open about everything in my life, like probably TMI on many things. And why would I keep the most important thing that I cherish a secret?
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
and I control the message. Like,
That's true.
it's like I'm owning it. Like, I just realized, like, no, wait, like, this is really important and this is who I am. And like, I'm just going to put it out there. And then once I did, and I saw how many people either said, oh, I mean, everyone's just like, thank you. You're a role model. You're an inspiration. It's like, y'all, I was like getting everyone to try cocaine before. And
Right.
now,
Yeah.
and now,
Yeah. Let me tell you what was really going on.
and now I'm a role model.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think you, as you evolve, you
Hmm.
look at like, what is my give back? Like, I'm really great. I mean, I have so much gratitude. I'm so lucky. Like, what is my purpose here? And I feel like this is, along with giving the news to people, which is
Yeah.
how I make my money. Like, I, I'm just shining. Like, now look, I am not like a go to Washington and like work on legislation with opioid addiction. Like, that's not my beat. Like,
Yeah.
my vibe is, I want to show people that I can have fun. So we have like hashtag Friel the fun, and like sober fun. And like, I'll when I'm in Mexico on the beach in my bathing suit, like, I'll post me with my iced coffee. I try to put stories out there that show like, hey, look, I'm dancing at a club right now and I'm not wasted. Like, I'm having fun, and give ideas for sober fun things.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty awesome though. I know and it's kind of a weird thing to be like recognized for. I still think it's a crazy thing. I mean, it's ironic. Like we're these like dope fiends and alcoholics basically, and now it's like we're, a beacon of light to
Right.
like, I mean, it's just it's crazy. I think about that pretty frequently actually, how I had to go through all of that to be introduced to this life that personally I never could have even started to dream about. I just
Right.
I really couldn't, but I think it's pretty awesome because I'm just thinking about myself, like, I am not on a national platform like you by any means. And even when I started to like just share, hey, I'm in recovery, I was scared. Like there was so much fear wrapped up in that. But what I really like how you said everyone was, really well receptive and,
Hmm.
like, man, that's awesome of you to share that.
I still do get messages, and people are like, I don't understand. Like, you don't have that problem anymore. So why do you wear all these sober t-shirts? And why are you constantly reminding us that you were sober and stuff?
Yeah.
And I think that there's just a lot of
Haters.
people, I think there's a
Haters.
lot of people out there who don't understand the concept of helping people. It's like,
Yeah.
no, by me being out, like, I'm helping people. And
Mm.
that's why I have my own podcast. It's called Keeping It Real, Conversations on Recovery. I've had like 20 some episodes air.
Awesome.
And I try to do interviews with celebrities. I've had, a handful, but I gotta be honest, getting celebrities to talk about it is challenging, whether it's like their schedule or they're just not totally sure.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of like, all right, I'm just gonna talk with other people about it, because
Yeah.
I love talking about it. And I got good reception to that podcast too.
I've had, I've mentioned this like in the last couple episodes I've recorded. I'm just thinking about all the celebrities that have come out recently. I mean, there's
Jessica Simpson,
yeah, man. And like,
Lena
okay.
Dunham.
Yeah. And it's not just like, okay, some people that were in a couple movies or whatever. It's like some serious, like well-known celebrities. I think, and I've been saying this for a while. My wife thought I was just like full of crap at first,
It's
but
cool to be sober
it
now.
is cool to be sober. Like it's the cool thing now, like let's just get real about that.
Yeah, and I find myself like I want to surround myself with people who motivate me, who inspire me to be like good at my career or give back and have good vibes. Like I don't have time for energy suckers anymore.
I really like that. Yeah. Yeah. People that are kind of moving in the same direction in life. I love that. So before we wrap up here, what is one piece of advice that you'd like to share with the Sober Nation?
Keep doing it. Like if you haven't ever tried it, then just try it. I love dry January because it's like accepted now by everyone. Like,
Yeah, it
oh,
is.
you don't have to worry what other people are thinking about your drinking. Like, be like, oh, I'm doing dry January.
Right.
And then just see, I mean, that's why rehabs are 28 days. And that's why I was set up for success, because I had 28 days not drinking, because I was able to see how my brain chemistry and everything was changing by not having alcohol in my system for 28 days or all the drugs and stuff. So if you can just put together a month, and then the other thing is, like, I used to worry so much about what other people were thinking about me not drinking. And I would always like try to have a drink that looked like a drink. Like most people don't care, or they're not even looking at what you're drinking, because they're focused on them. And the only people who are going to give you problems about drinking are those that have drinking problems themselves. Because I know for me, I was always like, wait, why aren't you drinking? Are you pregnant? Are you on antibiotics? Do you have to go to work? Like, I couldn't understand why people weren't drinking. And so if you just realize, like, and that back to the thing about we're all having the same experience, like just enjoy the experience and know, like, you're going to wake up tomorrow feeling great, and you're going to remember everything, and you're going to like cherish the interactions and connections that you have with people, because all of that stuff intensifies. Like, I don't feel like I started living until I got sober, and I was living so unconsciously before. And now, like, I've woken up, and throw meditation into the mix, and I've just like evolved onto this new vibration, like with these high energy people that I want to be around and like be lifted up. And I don't know, life's great. I feel like they talk about the pink cloud. Like, I didn't have the pink cloud in the beginning. I'm on the pink cloud now.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Well, that's great advice. So you can find Courtney's book Tonight at 10, Kicking Booze and Breaking News, on Amazon. Thank you again so much for coming on with me today, Courtney.
Thanks, Jonathan. It was fun.
Be sure to check out the show notes for all the info from today's episode. Sober Nation FM is brought to you by Sobriety Engine. Sobriety Engine is a free online community of men and women supporting each other in their recovery. Visit sobrietyengine.com to join today. This show is also brought to you by Recover Health. If you're ready to get fit and start living a healthier lifestyle while supporting your sobriety, you can learn more about having me as your own personal fitness and nutrition coach at rcvrhealth.com. And again, whether you're listening to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watching on YouTube, please share this with your friends, follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. Nation, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.